Welcome to the Steve and Bobby Show. My name's Steve Williams. Of course, every week we are here, and I'm here with my fellow host, Bobby Bliatu. What's up, Bobby?
What's up? Oh, you didn't crack no jokes this
No
time
jokes,
around.
I ain't got
No
nothing.
jokes.
I don't have anything today.
All right.
So we're going to talk about voting because I think voting is essential. In this segment, we actually said this last week that we were going to get down on kind of get in the weeds on this because voting is very important. And you have to understand that voting is probably one of the most essential things that you can do as an American. It really is because, this is how we elect our officials. And we talked about the judges things and all this. All this comes back to voting, all of it. So November 3rd, of course, is a huge, how would you call it? Like, it's our presidential election, of course, but there's other elections as well. There's propositions, there's all these things that are going to be put into the voting process. And so it's important that on November 3rd that you're informed as to what's going on. Now, first of all, I kind of want to put this thing, because Trump is consistently doing, and I want to cover this because it's important as well, because I want first to tell you what Trump is saying and what's actually happening, because it's kind of important. There's two things going on here. So Trump has been trying to do this, he's trying to weaponize the fact of mail-in voting, right? And he's putting two different ones. What's the other one? There's mail-in voting, and then there's the ones the military does. I don't know the exact wording of it, but there's a different wording for those, like, say you serve in the military or you're overseas. There's a different form of it, but we always call it mail-in voting. That's what I've always called it. I didn't realize it was a different name to it. But I want you to listen to what Trump says here about the mail-in voting and how it's actually kind of backfiring for him. So I want you to take a look at this, and we're going to talk about it on the other side.
The U.S. election is less than 90 days away, and U.S. President Donald Trump continues to attack voting by mail.
You see them all over the internet. They've had some just horrible stories on mail-in ballots.
But his own Republican Party is scrambling to counter the president's message on absentee ballots amid growing evidence it could help Democrats in the crucial November 3rd contest. State and local election data show Democratic voters are embracing mail ballots at rates well ahead of their Republican counterparts. Republicans are now worried Democrats will rack up significantly more mail-in votes by November, an advantage that may be tough to overcome if the pandemic depresses turnout on Election Day. In key battleground states including Michigan, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, GOP officials last month sent flyers to millions of Republican voters urging them to request absentee ballots. The mailers even featured part of a Trump tweet from June 28th. Quote, "Absentee ballots are fine. A person has to go through a process to get and use them." But it obscured the rest of the tweet, where he wrote, "Mail-in voting, on the other hand, will lead to the most corrupt election in USA history." The terms absentee voting and mail-in balloting are synonymous in most U.S. states. Both generally mean filling out a ballot at home, then dropping it in the mail. Trump has claimed without evidence that states issuing absentee ballots on demand are prone to voter fraud. Election experts who have studied decades of U.S. elections say such cheating is rare.
So understand that it is very safe to absentee voting, mail-in voting.
He looked at me. Like, come on, tell me. It was absentee voting, but to me, I didn't know what you were talking about because I was like, it's the same thing. If you're looking for another word, the way I see it, absentee voting is mail-in voting because you're mailing in your vote. But what I think, what Donald Trump is trying to say and the Republican Party is trying to say is that, mailing in your vote, when you never asked for an absentee ballot, would lead to voter fraud. Meaning, if everyone gets a mail-in ballot and everyone has the ability to go in to the polls, then you can't. Then there will be some harm. So I think they're taking the premise that if you have someone who collected or someone who said they're going to absentee vote because they won't be here, they won't be around, so they want the ballots and they want to mail it in, then you would have to take away their ability to go to the polls. If you wanted to kind of follow what his methodology is, because his methodology is, remember he said vote twice, right? Mm-hmm. Vote twice.
Vote twice.
So his methodology is if you get an absentee ballot, you can't go to the polls. So then you can only vote once. Well, no, if you get an absentee ballot, you can actually vote twice, just the same. If you wanted to, you get a ballot, mail it in, and walk up to the polls and vote again. It's illegal to do that, so don't do that, please. But we here in Fresno, California, started our first one where everyone gets a mail-in ballot. In Sacramento, I think they're in their second election, like a election cycle in which everyone gets a ballot. So in California, we've already been doing some of these things. And so I've heard people in Sacramento and argue on the other side, oh, yeah, if you send everyone a ballot, it's going to lead to fraud. I go, okay, so will the fraud happen in the last 4 years or 6 years? Well, we don't do that yet. No, we've been doing it for some time in Sacramento. They don't know it's they didn't know it was happening, so they think that fraud could happen. But the truth is, it's been happening, and there's been no fraud.
Yeah.
Except for in other states by Republicans or in our city by Republicans right now. Right.
Yeah. We just had a discussion on this very issue, and I think look, there's just no fact. There's nowhere. And in fact, they had to just close a case on where he put this commission of where they were trying to find all these fraud going on with. They actually, I think yesterday, the day before, couldn't find anything because there's not. It's literally so freaking rare. It just doesn't happen. So I don't understand why. I don't even really get Trump's angle here. I don't know if he knows he's just going to lose. Because when you say stuff like mail-in voting is bad, and there's a lot of Republicans that are older, right, that are in their 70s and 80s. They can't sit in a line for hours on end. They can't. So most of them do mail-in voting.
So he's saying by requesting it,
yeah,
if you request your ballot, then you're great.
Oh, that's what he's saying.
So it's like he uses the idea that, if it goes through the mail, it's bad. But if you requested it, it goes through the mail, it's good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny. We're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. He's looking, look, all we did was flip the switch.
Yeah.
That when you register to vote, instead of you not being someone who's going to get absentee ballot, we flip the switch to if you register to vote, you're automatically set to absentee ballot.
That's it.
That's all it is. It's flipping that switch, and it works just the same.
And to back this up, okay, so they just had the FBI director Christopher Wray on this exact scenario, and remember, Christopher Wray is a Trump appointee. He was appointed by Trump as the FBI, right? As the FBI director, he's the FBI director. So listen to I think it was Senator Peters talk about this very issue. They asked this question about is there fraud or rapid fraud in mail-in voting. Take a look.
So given the COVID-19 pandemic, we're seeing many more people vote by mail. As I mentioned, unprecedented numbers of absentee ballots have been asked for in the state of Michigan. So I want to dispel some of this drumbeat of misinformation that we're hearing out there. And so my question is very direct. Is voting by mail secure?
Well, Senator, I think what I would say is this. We take all election-related threats seriously, whether it's voter fraud, voter suppression, whether it's in person, whether it's by mail, and our role is to investigate the threat actors. Now, we have not seen, historically, any kind of coordinated national voter fraud effort in a major election. Whether it's by mail or otherwise.
Right, but your answer is clear. You've not seen any widespread fraud by mail, and it's something the FBI watches continuously to make sure that that's not happening. So
that's something we would investigate seriously.
Absolutely.
And aggressively.
Pretty simple.
It's secure.
Secure.
Sending it by mail.
Yep.
Right?
Pretty straightforward. You heard the FBI director, Trump appointee tell you. It's just, it's funny how, and it's really sad too, how he had to almost tiptoe around the answer, because he just didn't want to offend the president. Because the president just has this idea that there's voter fraud. The FBI director, where his job is to, prosecute, to find, make sure that there's no voter fraud. He's telling you there's no voter fraud. I mean, there's no other way.
It's his job to ensure that people get caught for doing things and investigating. If there was any kind of case for voter fraud or anyone instigating to do voter fraud, that he was supposed to be getting ahead of it. And so when there's the allegation from his, from Trump saying that there's going to be voter fraud, or there's some conspiracy to do so, he should already know, which means if he doesn't know, then it's doing a bad job. So he has to say it's not happening, but at the same time, he has to appease, President Trump, and he's just trying to find it. It's just so hard. I can't see how these people could work for him and do this, because it's like, oh no, we're going to say something opposite of him, but that's, it's the truth.
We don't want to get, and it's just, I mean, I think
He's trying to scare everybody.
Yeah.
And you're trying to say, no, you don't be scared because it's my job to protect you. So it's not there. So how do you do it? Right?
You know, the thing here is, he shouldn't have to run from the correct answer. Really. You know, it's just like any other administration, whether you were in the Bush administration, whether you were in the Obama administration. If there's like a legitimate scare of voter fraud, right? You just have your head go out there and say, hey, is there voter fraud? Yes or no? You wouldn't have, Bush or Obama wouldn't have to run from that answer, because if the answer is yes, the next step is, what are you doing?
Right. We are investigating.
And trying to
Correct.
alleviate that issue or alleviate that problem. Why does the president have to interact? And you see the way Christopher Wray had to tiptoe around it because he didn't want to offend the president. So,
It's all normal being. But now, you know what? With Donald Trump saying mail-in ballots, cause problems, causes fraud.
Issue.
He's saying there's no fraud or anything.
Yeah.
Well, now he got his case. There's something to investigate now, isn't
So
there?
remember, we heard just Christopher Wray say that there's no rampant voter fraud. There's no historical basis to it. He doesn't understand that, right? Well, take a look at this next video, and let's just see who what do you call it? Conspirators?
Conspirators.
These conspirators are. Take a look at it.
Battle is brewing in California over unofficial ballot boxes set up by the Republican Party. Boxes like these have been seen in at least 3 counties, Los Angeles, Orange, and Fresno. State election officials ordered the GOP to remove them by Thursday, saying the boxes are illegal and vulnerable to tampering.
Misleading voters is wrong, regardless of who's doing it. Political parties and campaigns can engage in get out the vote efforts, but they cannot violate state law.
Well, okay, get this. A California Republican Party spokesman says they will remove the word official from the collection boxes, but they won't remove them. They say the law does not specifically ban the party from collecting ballots in a box, only from forging or tampering with ballots. Folks, look behind me here. That's what the official ballot box looks like. You see, it's got all the languages on it. Official ballot drop box. That's the one that you use.
So they got what they want. If Democrats aren't doing it and other people aren't doing it, I guess they're going to do it just to prove a point.
It's almost like, look, this whole administration's been like this. It's almost like whatever the Republicans and Trump, and I'm talking about right now within this administration, it's like whatever they're complaining about
Or accusing somebody
or
of.
accusing somebody of, it's like they're the ones doing it. Every time Trump says something like, I'm not involved with Russia. Oh yeah, he's involved with Russia. I don't know anything about, there's all this voter fraud going on. Really? What's the GOP doing in Fresno, Orange, and LA? Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
We just did a show on that. Please check that one out.
Yeah, we just had this.
And actually, the person who went out and got video and then sent it to Alex Padilla.
Was in studio.
Yeah, was in our studio. So you can get her point of view, too, and how she got out there and actually saw these people working. But,
and we downloaded the video, so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, but no, you're right. I mean, when they accuse folks of doing stuff, there's no evidence, they go out and do it themselves.
Yeah.
If they frame other people, or they're doing it themselves and trying to just get away with it.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing today. And so there's going to be stuff for them to investigate. Our Attorney General is going to take a look into this and to see if the Republican Party is breaking the law.
Look, just, don't listen to this administration or listen to your local vote, whoever your local voter registrar is, or what they're, and if you see on the bottom there, if you see the bottom tickers there, go to those websites. Those are official websites to see what your local area, how to register in your local area, who to register. And we're going to get into that in the next segment as well. But make sure that you're doing the stuff that is important in turning in your vote, and make sure you're turning them to the right places. The only thing I can say is just don't listen to the administration. I really don't know what else to say.
Right.
Don't listen to this administration. Don't listen to what they're saying. I really don't. I mean, it's sad.
Your mail should be secure
Yes.
unless this administration makes it unsecure.
Yep.
I mean, the mail, the postmen, the mail folks that work there, are proud people over the letter carriers. They're doing a great job, and they're doing their best to work, and they're working their tails off. And the last thing that they can care about is throwing away your stuff. So they're doing their best to get it to you. And the only way that they won't is if this administration takes away their ability to do so. So it should be safe unless they teeter with it.
So make sure you guys stay tuned. Of course, we're going to be talking about some more stuff on actual voting, some of the weed stuff of it. So make sure you guys tune into that in the next segment. We had Jessica, like you were saying here earlier, we had Jessica Mahoney here earlier on what she caught on video on some local businesses that were that had unofficial ballot boxes within their organizations or within their businesses. So make sure, like I say, just know where you're voting, who you're voting for, or where you're dropping your voting at, not who you're voting. You can vote for whoever you want. And just make sure that you're doing the right thing, and make sure you're doing everything that's voting. You know, there's this thing that says, always go to the .org sites or to the you can be careful in those too. Make sure that, just the ones that are down here, the ones that are on the ticker on the bottom here, those are official sites. So make sure at least those two, I know for a fact, are official sites. So make sure that you can get your local information through those websites.
Right. So it's not as complicated as it sounds. Just fill out your ballot, stick it in the mail. In those places that you have to put a stamp on it, put a stamp on. In California, we don't. But you can do that, put it in the mail. If you wanted to drop off in a ballot box, make sure it's the right box, or go to the polls, vote. And you can do more work after that if you want to. You'll find out where, but that should be good enough. That's all it takes. And be done with it, and wash your hands, and let's hope for the right stuff.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys for listening, of course, to the Steve Bobby Show here at Mad Talk TV studios here in the central part of Fresno, California. I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. We do this because we love it. We have a passion for this kind of stuff. So it's not something that's going to... Hey, if you guys have questions or you got anything, please put it in the comment section. Because if there's something that we could answer, or we can always find the answer for. So, because we're local here in Fresno, so we film out of Fresno, California. So we'll know the local areas. And we'll find... wherever your area is. I do it all the time for people. I get people all the time that ask me. I got family all over the place. Plus, I was in the military, so I got friends that are all over the place. Hey, where do I register? Who do I register to? So I'm always going through these websites for their local areas. That way, they know where to register local. Yep. So make sure you ask us that. You can always ask us that. So I appreciate it. Again, thank you for watching the Steve Bobby Show. I appreciate it. See us on the other side.